Okay, the mind has the nature of clarity and cognizance. If we reduce the cognizance of the mind, reduce discrimination, clarity of the mind will suffice. Or we need to remove the layers of afflictions of our mind, then we're able to see the clarity of the mind. Uh, uh, Jolene, when you say cognizance, what do you mean?
Mean that our mind keep making assumptions, and we cognize what we see.
Maybe
That makes
cognize
sense.
what you see.
Yes.
Assumptions. Okay, thanks for clarifying.
Yeah.
So if we another way to look at cognizance, right, is that the ability to to basically recognize, right? To first of all be aware. For cognition to happen, you need to be aware, and then to be able to, in a way, identify. Yeah. So part of it is the so-called labeling process, right? Yeah, for cognizance to happen. So then your question is, if we reduce the cognizance of the mind, um, reduce discrimination, clarity of the mind will suffice. So suffice to do what?
That means our what we can see, the reality will be
Uh,
like it just come out, or
uh,
still that we have to do a lot.
Meaning clarity of the mind will suffice to see reality as it is.
Yes.
So so first things first, uh, to the first part, to reduce the cognizance of the mind. So the question is, we can ask ourselves, um, are the enlightened ones, the Aryans, the Buddha, the Bodhisattvas, the Arahants, are they cognizant of things around them? They are, right? Are they? Jolene, are they cognizant? Like if now Buddha is in front of you and you walk past the Buddha, is the Buddha cognizant of the fact that you walk past him? Or is he not non-cognizant?
I think if he's a direct, uh, if he's a direct, how should I say it? The word? If he has a direct, then he has less cognizance. He sees things more directly.
Uh,
When
so,
he,
so, so, okay, let's consider when the Buddha was alive, right? So when he was going on alms round and so on,
uh-huh,
yeah, or when people come and talk to him, yeah, and so on and so forth, lah.
yeah.
Is he cognizant of people coming to talk to him?
If he's a direct perceiver, maybe he cognizes less. I don't know.
Uh, okay, so just based on the sutta, uh,
Yeah.
based on the sutta, was he able to navigate around from point A to point B?
Yes.
Was he able to decide to say, who in the realm is able to see the truth today? I mean, the answer should be yes, because that was how it was recorded, right? Based on the sutta.
Yeah.
Then also based on the sutta, we say that he was able to then decide to go and then to travel from point A to point B, yeah,
Mm.
and not trip over a stone, not bash the tree, yeah. So he is able to walk around obstacles, climb the mountain, go over the bridge, trek over rivers, and so on and so forth.
Mm.
Yeah. So to do that, I think we should have to at least have the common agreement among everybody here that it requires cognizance.
Mm-hmm.
Without cognizance, then to begin with, he wouldn't be able to cognize whether someone is amiable, whether someone is ready for the truth or not, isn't it?
Yeah, but I think the difference would be when we see someone cross the river, I would look as that someone crossing the river maybe. But maybe if someone has less cognizance in his mind with a greater clarity, like a direct perceiver, when the person cross it, he say, oh, this is dependent arising. I don't know, like, or the person is crossing over because there's a bridge. He happens to be there, he crossed it. So that you won't take it like how I would see it, like, oh, this person is beautiful crossing the bridge or something like that. I don't know.
No,
Yeah.
okay, hang on.
Yeah.
So you are now describing person B observing person A crossing the bridge.
Yeah.
No, no, my example was Buddha is person A. Buddha is able to cross the bridge, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So if you want to counter, you should be saying person A sees a bridge or don't see
Yeah.
the bridge.
Okay.
Does the Buddha see the bridge or don't see the bridge?
Maybe when he sees the bridge, he sees the dependent arising of this bridge or something like that.
So is that cognizant or not cognizant?
I don't know.
You don't know.
I don't know what's the word. Maybe in some sense, there is a different description of that mind, which is a more clear mind. I don't. Is that how?
Okay, so if we go that direction, right, then we can basically say, okay, the Buddha basically functioned in a totally different way, and it's totally undescribable by us. Then we cannot go any further.
Okay, understand.
It's in a totally different state. Don't know how to explain. then our question becomes moot point,
Okay.
right?
Yes.
But the Buddha didn't teach in this way, right? The Buddha didn't teach in a way that is disconnected from us. The Dharma always touches 2 points, the unenlightened and the enlightened stage. Yeah. While the fully enlightened stage is beyond words, but the Dharma must start from the point where we are still with concepts. So, as far as you can see from the sutta, the Buddha was cognizant of the bridge, the river, including ants crawling on the street, yeah, the chicken crossing the road, yeah, and so on and so forth. Okay. There are two. I mean, throughout the suttas, there's just all the suttas are basically examples of him being aware, being cognizant. In fact, he even used people's name, right? Sariputra. Yeah. Yeah. He even used names as though like you and me. Yeah. So we have to agree that he used labels. So discrimination, or first of all, cognizance and labeling itself actually is not the full problem. The problem is when we discriminate, we take our discrimination to be real. The moment we label, we take it to be real and the only reality that is. That is the problem we are trying to remove. Or first of all, we're trying to realize that our label is not real. It's mere label. To realize that our discrimination is just but discrimination. Yeah, it doesn't have any inherentness by itself. There's nothing tangible about our discrimination. Yeah, but having said all that, all this has dependent arising functionality as well. So the Buddha was able to use words and labels and concepts just like us, but not attached to them. having said that, it doesn't mean he anyhow use words also. Like a lot of Buddhists when they say non-attachment, then they're like, just labels. Yeah. Uh, uh, this label or that label also same. Then to the point where in religion A and religion B all also same. Not Jolene, but I'm just stretching the example. Yeah. And usually students, Buddhists do this when they lose the argument. Before that, when they are trying to argue about or discuss some point, they they talk like normal. Then when they realize their point has been defeated, they have no more point to say. Then they say, all words are all labels are empty. I feel like slapping. Yeah. So no, I'm not trying to slap you. Don't worry. Yeah. So the in various tradition in Buddhism, there seem to be an angle towards non-cognizance. Yeah. Um, like for example, in Chanzong, then there's the practice of mo zhao, like basically like empty your mind. Yeah. Silently just observe. Yeah. I think in the Tibetan tradition, there's also this unthinking awareness, right? And then in the Theravadan tradition, there's a lot of emphasis on direct seeing without thinking, right? But at the same time, oh wait, sorry. So based on what I said, and then based on what I just said, then how come there seems to be a conflict? I suspect that the thing is, um, most of these traditions are not wrong in the sense that um, the enlightened stage, nibbana itself, is beyond words. Yeah. So then, if we agree with that, then Buddha attain nibbana, ma. And then we say that Buddha abide in nibbana, ma. Then that means without words, ma. So reality has no words. Yeah. Reality has no concepts. But doesn't mean that reality there's nothing happening. Is that the Buddha don't grasp on to things happening as reality. Because all the things that's happening has the underlying reality that is beyond words. For us, for the most part, we don't even see the reality, right? Then we attend Dharma class, we learn about the reality. So we use words to describe the reality. And sometimes we remember the words wrongly. Then we remember correctly, we understand it wrongly. Yeah. Then finally we remember correctly, understand correctly. Then we hold on to that understanding as reality, but not the understanding that not the reality that the understanding is pointing to. Yeah. So we have so many layers. But that's because of the beginningless conditioning of our mind. Yeah. So in the Chinese tradition, we sometimes call this that means we try to emulate the enlightened one state. Yeah. 果上修因. Yeah. So we say, oh, Buddha attained the state that is beyond words. So we just try to be beyond words directly. Yeah. Now, it may not be true for all traditions, but at least I know that in some traditions, in particular like Zen tradition, the approach is like this. Since Buddha ultimately can go beyond words, then we just try to whack all the words out. That's why in Chanzong there's a saying like, be like a stone, right? The stone cannot discriminate, ma. But there's an easier way to do that is just go into coma, right? But coma maybe still have thoughts. So, but the Buddha wasn't in coma. The Buddha isn't like a stone also, right? The difference is that the Buddha don't grasp onto everything that arises. Yeah, don't grasp onto anything, more correctly. Don't grasp onto anything. But it's not that he consciously, effortfully stopped himself from grasping. It's that he truly see that there's nothing that can be grasped. So the cognizant part, um, actually, if we compare cognizant with contemplation with reflection, then we may have an answer. Because in the Buddha's time, he he teach reflection and contemplation, right? For the most part, most of the teaching, when he asks questions, he's getting people to contemplate. Ma. Yeah. If he don't want people to contemplate, he just say, this is the truth. Okay, got him. Go and see. Go and see. Right? No? So but if we go along with the question, yeah, if you were to just stop all the discrimination, will clarity of the mind suffice? That itself, um, if we assume that by removing all the thinking process, that should lead to some kind of samatha state. No, should lead to some kind of samatha state, samadhi state. That itself will not suffice. Yeah. Because in the Buddha's time, many of his contemporaries, that means his peers, they attain various states of samadhi, such as his two own teacher, right, Alara and Udaka, right? They reach states where the mind is so subtle, so free of discrimination, that it is there's even one state which is 非想非非想, right? Yeah, beyond perception nor non-perception. Yeah, so it's so subtle that it's almost like a suspend mode. Like if you use computer as a parallel, it's basically going to suspend. Yeah. Or just a real-time clock running. Dun, dun. So, but they didn't attain enlightenment as a result. Yeah. And in fact, in later texts, it says that if you were to enter into that state without the earlier seeds of wisdom, then great ego can arise and wrong views can arise as well. So that itself is insufficient. Okay, so all we need, the second part, all we need to remove the layers of afflictions of our mind, then we are able to see the clarity of the mind. For sure, we need to remove the layers of affliction. So afflictions of the mind, greed, hatred, delusion. Yeah. 贪嗔痴慢疑恶见, and that's the primary six, and then the subsequent secondary one. Greed, hatred, delusion, conceit, 慢疑, doubt, and 恶见, wrong views. So ultimately, when wrong views are removed, for wrong views to be removed, then direct seeing must occur. But of course, that is a gradual path also. Initially, it's just to have knowledge of the right view. So we know, at least we must know what is right view, what is wrong view. Yeah. Then after that, you contemplate why the right view is right. Then in contrast, you know why wrong view is wrong. So you increase the faith that wrong view is truly wrong. Then you start to veer away from wrong view. And you are, because of the knowledge of wrong view, when wrong view arises, you can be aware that it's wrong view. Then there's more impetus to move away from it. But ultimately, you must, verify the right view. You must verify your understanding, your knowledge of the teachings. And only when we have verified, then that's the final affliction. Then we have affirmed confidence, affirmed faith that indeed, whatever that the Buddha the Bodhisattvas, the Aryan Bodhisattvas, the Arahants, the enlightened beings, whatever that they have seen for themselves, observed and taught to us is indeed reality. That suffering is indeed suffering. Cause of suffering is indeed cause of suffering. The cessation of suffering is indeed cessation of suffering. And the path leading to the cessation of suffering is indeed the path leading to the cessation of suffering. Yeah. Oh, okay. Thank you for the question. I hope this clears up for many others, because throughout the Buddhist traditions in the different schools, there is this tendency to veer towards the non-thinking mind. Yeah. So it's perhaps important to know the difference between the fruit versus the path, or the fruit versus the path. We cannot take the fruit to cultivate. Yeah, of course, don't take my word for it, because there are so many teachers out there who advocate that, right? Yeah, but if we go back to how the Buddha teach people to practice, I don't see any clear evidence of him just simply teaching people to say, be like me, be like the Tathagata. Yeah, just abide by Nibbana. We don't see this. The Buddha give us a staircase. The Buddha don't say, okay, jump to where I am, level 37. Yeah, he say, this is level 1, you are now at ground floor. This is the first step, second step, third step, be careful there's a hole there, then skip, and so on. Okay? Okay. All right. Have a normal day ahead. You all thought I was going to come up with some fancy description starting with S, right? Okay. Bye-bye. See you all again.